Hi, folks. John Adamson with Seeking Light, and welcome. I'm just going to briefly, that's kind of disgusting. I just noticed you've got our fly trap video set above our plants that we have growing down here in the basement office where I work during the day. Firstly, I just want to say thank you if you're watching this. I want to talk about the basis for truth. Suppose Suppose there was an island somewhere deep in the Pacific where you got dropped and you were dropped off, and there was a people group already living there. And suppose now you also had amnesia, so you didn't remember anything from your previous life before you got dropped into this civilization, but you at least had a basis of knowledge by which you could, communicate with these natives of this island. You could reason and understand what was going on around you. And so, with that said, you're on this island, and it turns out they're all cannibals. This is a cannibalistic society. In fact, there's some warring tribes, and it's a ritual that they engage in that if they are in a battle and they kill their enemy, they, as celebration, they eat their enemy afterwards. And so you've got no previous basis for determining whether or not this is a moral activity or not, and you're not bringing any preconceptions with you to evaluating whether this is a moral activity or not. So you see these people are killing each other, eating each other, etc. Now that would be truth, right? That's truly going on. What you would lack in this particular situation is evaluating whether or not that was a morally appropriate activity to be engaged in. You see, the problem with observational truth, where you can just see something's going on, is that observation by itself does not provide a framework for determining good or evil. So in this particular case, without a base worldview, let's say Judeo-Christian, my background, you couldn't say to these cannibalists or cannibals, what you're doing is wrong, unjust, unfair, not human. You wouldn't have any basis for that determination. And so it's really important to understand that the observations we can make in this world are not sufficient to determine what is good or wrong or evil or just. Those things come beyond the physical realm. And it's one of the arguments utilized to point to the fact that we are also spiritual beings with a reality beyond our observational capabilities, which means that science, in and of itself, is an insufficient tool to gauge right and wrong, what is ethical behavior. I was recently listening to a podcast today called the Dark Horse Podcast, which I really enjoy. Brett Weinstein, and I'm blanking on his wife's first name. She's equally excellent. I apologize, I'm blanking. I've heard Brett talk more. But they're both atheists. They're both biologists. Well, I know Brett is. I think his wife is involved in that, or she might be in math. But anyway, they're both atheists. And they're pointing out a lot of excellent things. I love their podcast. In fact, it's highly entertaining. They're incredibly brilliant. You'd get a lot out of it. But they're making a lot of judgment calls about what is good and evil. And today on podcast I was listening to, which I think is a few days old, Brett says he doesn't like to use this term, but he called something evil. And I agree with everything they said, that what they were talking about truly was evil. They made a right determination, but they couldn't have made it based upon their worldview. They are influenced by something outside of their worldview, namely their Judeo-Christian background, being raised up in this country and being exposed to that mindset of what is good and just and right and moral, that they couldn't have gotten from the science, which they often talk about. They talk about evolution and the importance of evolution in determining different things. And a lot of what they say is really good stuff, but it's deficient in its basis. You can only make the determination of what is truth behind what you can observe. And so that can only be done if you have a coherent worldview that includes morals. And you need to have some kind of author of morals to say that those morals are authoritative. So when you declare something is evil, what is the basis for that? Because you cannot say that just observing science, using our senses, will help you determine what is good or just, moral, right, righteous, things like that. Anyway, just some thoughts on that. I hope you're enjoying the channel. If you are, please like and subscribe. Also, remember to give me feedback on especially on the videos that are using PowerPoint presentation. Really, that's helpful to me. Also, if you have any topics you'd like to cover. By the way, I'm going to share, as soon as I get a response, an email I sent to my work yet again. Now that I've had COVID and have recovered, I know I have better immunity than somebody who has had, and YouTube, this is supported by data from the CDC, the very large study done by on New York and California data back in, I think it would have been second quarter of last year. But now that I've had COVID, I have better immunity than somebody that's double vaxxed but didn't have the disease. Now I have comparable immunity to someone who's double vaxxed and had COVID. They have slightly better data, but it's very minute. So anyway, I've emailed my work asking them to eliminate the wearing of the N95 masks for those who are not vaccinated. Now any associate that has had the disease has protection analogous to and better than somebody that's just been vaccinated. And so for them to not have to wear an N95 with less protection than me makes no sense. It's not scientific. I'll use science when it fits my needs. I'll use science all the time. I just know that my science guides me, or I should say science is a guide to me about what's going on, but it can't tell me what's right or wrong. John Adamson with Seeking Light. Take care. God bless.